Landlords in Florida are reportedly rejecting tenants who are under temporary protective status. It's a temporary immigration status. It lets a person stay in the U.S. even though they're illegal. Now, people are saying that, hey, that's discrimination. I don't think so. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Florida, and it has to do with both being a landlord and illegal immigration. So I've said many times, okay, if I was a landlord anywhere in the country, I wouldn't be renting to illegal immigrants for a multitude of reasons. And the number one being that you just can't verify anything about them, okay? I mean, how can you verify their income? How can you even verify that the person is who they say they are? They present you with a passport or a document or whatever. That doesn't mean that's that actual person's name. That doesn't mean that's that actual person's date of birth. Now, with a U.S. citizenship, you have a lot more, checks and balances in place, and that includes also lawful permanent residence. But as a landlord, what you want to do is put the best tenant in your property possible. You want to verify their income. You want to verify their criminal history. You want to be able to verify their credit history, and you can't do any of that with an illegal immigrant. So in the case of Florida, okay, there's landlords in Florida, and they are turning down tenants who have this temporary protective status because they think that, hey, you know what, this temporary protective status could be revoked and these tenants could end up being deported. And to me, that's a smart business decision. Now, it has nothing to do with the person's country of origin or the fact that they're not a citizen. It has to do with the fact that, hey, as a business decision, I don't want to rent to a person who is going to be deported. And that's another reason why I say, you know what, don't waste your time renting to illegal aliens. Now, I know a lot of landlords are like, hey, but I make plenty of money off of these people. They always pay their rent and they pay on time and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hell, you take that risk. Okay, you take that risk. I'm not doing it, period. It's not going to happen. It's not acceptable in my properties, in my business. But you do whatever you want, and like I always tell people, follow the law. Follow the law, okay? And if the law says, hey, this could be considered harboring an illegal alien, probably not a good idea to do that, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So first of all, would you rent to illegal aliens? I'm just curious, and if you do rent to illegal aliens, is it just people who have this sort of temporary status, temporary permission to be in the U.S.? I could see an argument towards that, but my fear would still be that, hey, this person eventually will not be in the country or disappear on me, and then I'm just left without rent money, okay? So it would make more sense, in my opinion, to rent to somebody who's legally here. That's my opinion. Put your opinion in the comment section down below. Let's get into the article, and let me tell you what it says. This article is coming from Fortune.com, and it says, Florida landlords are turning away immigrants on temporary legal status as deportation worries loom. Let's get into it. Doral Landings East, a gated Miami suburb consisting mainly of single-family homes, is experiencing an immigrant exodus. Many Venezuelans lived and worked there under temporary programs that expanded during the Biden administration, the Wall Street Journal reported. But the community of 80,000 people, about 40% of whom are Venezuelan, is experiencing greater vacancy rates than surrounding communities. In Doral, vacancy rates have increased from 5.6% last year to 6.5%, above vacancies in surrounding communities where rates are 4.3%. Real estate agents are pointing to Venezuelan immigrants fleeing in fear of their temporary status expiring under a Trump administration that's tried to fast-track deportations, according to the Journal. And that is definitely a possibility, but it points out something else as well. Okay, there were a lot of people for a long time that were saying that, oh, illegal immigration is making no impact, zero impact whatsoever on housing and on housing costs. Well, what do you think happens when a large number of illegal immigrants are taking up this housing and they're gone? Okay, vacancy rates increase. And as you know, as a landlord, when vacancy rates increase, that means that rents have to come down so that landlords can fill their units. So yeah, we are seeing an impact. There is an impact from a large flood of illegal immigration into the country on the cost of housing, and people not understanding that, people not understanding economics, the laws of supply and demand. Well, they're the idiots who caused this mess in the first place. So yeah, this could mean temporary pain for landlords, but it could mean a correction in the amount of rent that's being charged. And that could mean that housing is more affordable for those who are legal and are supposed to be here in the United States. Okay, so I'm all for it. Let's continue to deport the illegal aliens. Period. And like I said, as a landlord, don't rent to them, or this could very well be you who is struggling to fill your units. Okay. Venezuelans are one of the largest groups on temporary status in the U.S. today, but the Trump administration ended deportation protection for 350,000 Venezuelans in April, and another 350,000 will see their protection expire in February of 2026. At the same time, Doral apartment building owners are reportedly turning away families under temporary permission as worries mount that Trump could suddenly make them illegal residents in the U.S. Experts say this could violate federal and state fair housing laws by discriminating against one's nation of origin, regardless of their immigration status. It's garbage. That's complete garbage. I don't know who these experts they talk to are, but simply put, temporary protective status is not a nation of origin. It's not. Okay, there are a multitude of countries, a multitude of different groups of people who have temporary protective status. And it doesn't single out just Venezuelans, okay? There's people who are from war-torn places that have temporary protective status. You know, there were Haitians, for example, were given temporary protective status for a while. You know, just it's called temporary because it's saying, hey, you can basically hide out here until things calm down in the country where you're from, but then you got to go back. That's what it's really all about. It's not about, hey, you could come over here and live forever. Meanwhile, it's peaceful and good back where you're from. No, absolutely not. You need to go through the regular immigration process. You don't need to be just walking over the border, skipping the line, essentially. And yeah, we're very merciful people here in the U.S., okay? We will give you temporary protection, but when things clear up, you need to go home. It seems obvious. Why would they call it temporary protective status if it was meant to be permanent? So the people complaining about that, yeah, they can go to hell. They can go to hell. Okay, I'm all for immigration enforcement, period. If a landlord turns a potential tenant away for suspecting they're not a citizen, that would be a violation of the civil rights law. Gregory Vincent, founder of Gregory Vincent Law based in Columbus, Ohio, told Fortune. That's not true as well, okay? You can turn down non-citizens, right? If they are in the present in the country illegally, okay? You can, absolutely can, and not violate any laws because you're not turning them down based upon the fact that, hey, this person is from Venezuela. No. You're turning them down because they don't have status to be here. They don't have a background that you can even check. They don't have a work history. They can't prove their credit history or eviction history. They can't prove anything. Their income. You know, they're just here. Here's some person, and you're telling me I have to rent to them? Absolutely not. And I'll argue that all day. And if they argue, yeah, well, you know what? You know, you're violating the law. You know what I would do then? I would be like, well, I'm just not going to tell these people why I'm rejecting them. I'm just not going to rent to them. Okay? I'm not a moron. I'm not going to tell people straight to their face. And they'll be like, you know, we have selected a better candidate, period. That simple. And that's what I suggest all landlords do. That way you don't get caught up in this net of garbage by these lawyers, okay? These lawyers, they don't give a crap if you go bankrupt after somebody doesn't pay you rent and they trash your property. They just don't. The only thing they care about is, are they getting paid as a lawyer? Well, the only thing I care about is, am I getting paid as a landlord, period. So what do you think? You think that we should be renting to illegal aliens, whether they have temporary protective status or not? Okay? My opinion, I've already told you, I don't. You go ahead and put your opinion down in the comment section down below.